Welcome to our series of films acknowledging the great female literary authors that grace the Women's Library at Compton Verney. Hello, my name is Hannah Taylor and I'm the Contemporary Arts Producer at Compton Verney, and I invite you to experience these passages. In the 18th century, for the English woman, reading was considered a political act, and debates increased on whether or not women should be allowed to read. Compton Verney has a strong history of inspiring women choosing to challenge. In 1862, the Baroness Georgiana Verney was widowed with 7 children, a large estate and many tenants. Not taking privilege for granted, the Women's Library as we know it was born. As the imitation books in the doorway suggest, Georgiana began to fill the library with only female writers of her time. Many of these books give us an insight into the inspiring woman she was, interested in science, philosophy, mythology, poetry, stories of travel, and women's rights. Also, at this time, a community began to emerge, breaking the silence of women long held, the Blue Stockings, a community of influential women who promoted female education. They were clear that there was far more to read about than just men. Throughout the mid-18th century, heated literary discussions were held over the fashionable new beverage, tea, and women such as Hannah More and Anna Barbauld discussed literature, science, philosophy, and politics. Compton Verney had strong links with the Blue Stockings. The Women's Library features books by several well-known Blue Stocking members. So sit back and read with us. The shelves and the passages from the titles we find there, and hashtag choose to challenge gender bias, inequality, and acknowledge women's achievements. We will be presenting 4 texts over 4 weeks, read by 4 dedicated women who were inspired by Compton Verney and the Baroness who offered knowledge to those who scarcely had the opportunity to access it.
Hello, my name is Liz Kimberley. I'm a gallery interpreter here at Compton Verney, where I've worked for the last 8 or 9 years. Caroline Elizabeth Norton was born in London in 1808, and she was described by some as a society beauty, but she was so much more than that. She was an influential feminist, an author and a social reformer, somebody who experienced great personal tragedy in her life, but also many political and literary accomplishments. She married fairly early in her life to a barrister MP who persuaded her to use her connections to advance his career. However, the marriage was coercive, even abusive, and she was bitterly unhappy. She left her husband and tried to support herself through her writing, but her husband claimed her earnings as his own, which he was legally entitled to do. He also denied her a divorce, took custody of their 3 children until one of them died, and also accused her of adultery, which caused a huge political and social scandal. Some of the injustice she felt at her treatment is reflected in this poem, I was not false to thee. I was not false to thee, and yet my cheek alone looked pale. My weary eye was dim and wet. My strength began to fail. Thou wert the same, thy looks were gay, thy step was light and free, and yet with truth my heart can say, I was not false to thee. I was not false to thee, yet now thou hast a cheerful eye. With flushing cheek and drooping brow, I wander mournfully. I hate to meet the gaze of men, I weep where none can see. Why do I only suffer when I was not false to thee? I was not false to thee, yet oh, how scornfully they smile who see me droop, who guess my woe, yet court thee all the while. 'Tis strange, but when long years are past, thou wilt remember me, whilst I can feel until the last I was not false to thee. Caroline fought to extend the rights of women, and through her campaigning, Parliament passed the Married Women's Property Act, the Matrimonial Causes Act, and the Custody of Infants Act. Throughout her life, Caroline sought sustenance and solace from her writing and her reading, and it feels so right to be reflecting on her work here in the Women's Library at Compton Verney. It feels particularly appropriate, surrounded as we are by shelves of literature chosen by 21st century women as particularly important and influential in their lives, to read her sonnet, "To My Books." Silent companions of the lonely hour, friends who can never alter or forsake, who for inconstant roving have no power, and all neglect perforce must calmly take. Let me return to you, this turmoil ending, which worldly cares have in my spirit wrought, and all your old familiar pages bending, refresh my mind with many a tranquil thought, till, happy meeting there, from time to time fancies the audible echo of my own. 'Twill be like hearing in a foreign clime my native language spoke in a friendly tone, and with a sort of welcome I shall dwell on these, my unright musings, told so well.